face completely covered, carrying several large and small cardboard boxes. This person actually dropped a knife, but quickly hid it back inside their sleeve. Fang Ping apologized verbally, but in his heart he was on guard. Is that the new tenant from upstairs? Something feels off, he thought to himself. Not long after, Fang Ping and his friends met up with Wang Jinyang. Yang Jin, sitting next to him, kept praising how amazing their high school was for being able to invite this guy to come and talk before the martial arts exam. Fang Ping was still puzzled. What's the big deal about this? Isn't Wang Jinyang just an alumnus coming back to share his experience? An ordinary alumnus wouldn't be anything special, but Wang Jinyang is different. He's a martial artist, Yang Jin immediately retorted. Because in a city as big as Yangcheng, not many people are raised to become martial artists. That's why Wang Jinyang's existence is so special, especially since he became a martial artist at such a young age. While Fang Ping was lost in thought, suddenly, Wang Jinyang's arm rested on his shoulder. Although I understand that you guys will do anything for the martial arts exam, your body is the most important thing. Fang Ping, I don't know what kind of medicine you took to increase your vitality in such a short time, but you can't just take any medicine. A medicine that is too potent can also cause disaster. Also, if you only rely on supplements without training your strength, you'll end up biting off more than you can chew. Fang Ping didn't think the other person could tell just by glancing at him that he had increased his vitality. The way Wang Jinyang said it somehow made him feel a hint of killing intent. But since he was a senior, Fang Ping didn't dare show anything on his face. He even had to thank him for the reminder. Besides, what Wang Jinyang said wasn't entirely wrong. That's why that night after returning home, Fang Ping started to work out. Sit-ups, then push-ups, repeating them over and over again. He didn't know if it was because the system added points to his vitality, but now Fang Ping felt that exercising was not as tiring as before. It seems I should still train my body while increasing my vitality, just like Wang Jinyang said. After he was exhausted and drenched in sweat, Fang Ping finally stood up, and at that moment, he felt a strong, unconcealable killing intent. Instinctively, Fang Ping turned around, but there was no one there. Instead, he saw the masked man he had bumped into this morning, standing by the second-floor window. Although he couldn't explain the feeling of killing intent, he just felt, Fang Ping still felt that this person was very dangerous. However, he had no way to investigate him. He could only remind himself to stay away from that person in the future. When Fang Ping returned home, the TV was broadcasting a breaking news story about a second-rank martial artist who had brutally killed his teammate due to an unfair division of spoils after a mission. The police said that the last place the suspect was seen was at Kangshan Mountain in Yangcheng. The police also, therefore, requested residents near this area to take necessary precautions for security. Lock your doors and windows tightly before going to bed to avoid any unfortunate incidents. Fang Ping, what do you think? Should I not go to school during this time? I'm so cute. What if that murderer does something to me? Wouldn't that be a national loss? Fang Yuan, who was lying on the sofa, eating chips, asked as soon as Fang Ping came home. Don't worry, you're only worth a little money. It won't affect much. Fang Yuan was angered by his teasing and threw the half-eaten bag of chips at him. But Fang Ping easily dodged it. It seems his reflexes are getting better and better. After that, the news broadcasted a video of the suspect committing the crime, from which the murder weapon was identified. Fang Ping's expression immediately changed. He stared at the video for a long time. For some reason, he felt like he had seen the knife in the video somewhere before. That night in his dream, Fang Ping dreamed that someone was using the knife from the news that evening to stab him. And that person happened to be the man from upstairs that he had bumped into that morning. Fang Ping woke up with a start, and that nightmare reminded him of an important detail. When he bumped into the man this morning, he saw the knife fall from the man's person. Although it was just a dream, the killing intent that he felt while training in the yard that evening was definitely not an illusion. Fang Ping felt a chill down his spine. A wanted top-tier second-rank martial artist ended up moving in right above him. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? For some reason, at that moment a thought crossed Fang Ping's mind. Could it be that he was targeting him? But what did he have that would make him a target? It certainly wasn't for money, because his family had none. Then maybe it was because of the system. But only Fang Ping himself could see the system. He thought and thought, but couldn't find a reason. It was just that the dream was too vivid. Fang Ping was afraid that he was really being targeted by the other party, and didn't want that nightmare to repeat itself in reality. Thinking of this, Fang Ping felt he should do something before the other party could make a move on him. So the next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Fang Ping had already taken action. He went out and bought a bunch of breakfast food, planning to spy on the other person in his own way. At that time, the radio was also reporting on this issue. The public was in an uproar, because it was just a second-rank martial artist, yet the police had sealed off Kangshan Mountain for several nights, and still couldn't catch him, causing them to have sleepless nights for several days. But experts believed that this was not something to be ashamed of, because the strength of an ordinary second-rank martial artist could even deal with a company of soldiers with great ease. The main character of the news, the murderer himself, was also listening to the radio at this time. After the news ended, he turned off the radio and threw it into a cardboard box. Inside were also blood-stained clothes and the knife he used as a weapon. Those idiots really fell for my trick, and went to Kangshan Mountain. It seems that escaping is not too difficult. This small residential area doesn't even have cameras. I just need to hide here and wait for this storm to pass, he thought to himself. Just then there was a knock on the door. He cautiously asked, "Who's there?" but received no reply. At first, the murderer didn't intend to open the door, but just hiding inside could arouse the neighbors' suspicion. So he put away the cardboard box containing the murder weapon, then put on a gentle, innocent expression and went to open the door. "Hello, nice to meet you. I'm the new owner of this room who just moved in yesterday. May I ask what you need from me?" It was a waste of his acting skills. There was no one at the door. Actually, there was, but it was Fang Ping, and he was hiding behind the door. While the other party was confused and went outside, looking up and down to see who had knocked on his door, Fang Ping quickly darted into the room. He was already sitting on the sofa. When the murderer returned and saw him entering his room without permission, he was furious. But for the sake of his escape, he still had to suppress his anger. Young man, are you in the wrong room? This isn't your house." On the other side, Fang Ping also tried to put on a calm expression, as if he didn't know the other person was a murderer. "I know, but here's the thing, Uncle. My TV is broken, and I want to watch football. So I came to your house to borrow your TV to watch. Please don't say no to me, because I even bought breakfast." As he spoke, Fang Ping put a straw into a cup of soy milk and handed it to the man. "Uncle, do you like watching football? Let's eat and watch together, okay, Uncle?" Although he was very reluctant, because he didn't want to show an unusual attitude towards his neighbor. In the end, the murderer still had to agree to turn on the TV for Fang Ping to watch football. In fact, during the football match, he was also very nervous, because he was afraid that Fang Ping was sent to arrest him. However, Fang Ping's acting was top-notch. His focused attention on the match, along with his somewhat "oh man" expressions when his team was losing, made the murderer gradually let down his guard, thinking that he was just an ordinary kid. Originally, he had intended to kill him to avoid future trouble, but now was a critical time. If he caused more trouble, he was afraid that the police would soon be on his tail, so he could only sip his soy milk, while thinking of a way to get rid of Fang Ping soon. But unexpectedly, this young man was as persistent as a leech. Today was the weekend, so he didn't have to go to school, giving him even more of an excuse to stay longer. "Kid, if you don't go home soon, your family will be worried about you." The murderer still tried to get rid of Fang Ping. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished saying this, the boy hung his head. Then he put on such a pitifully sad expression that it was impossible not to be moved. "Uncle, I just wanted to watch a football match. Do you want to kick me out that badly?" No, I'm just worried about you, haha." The murderer was suddenly struck by his appearance, and for a moment his conscience didn't know how to kick Fang Ping out. "It's my fault, Uncle. Today is a rare weekend, and a cute teenager like me wanted to help a new neighbor feel the warmth of the neighborhood. But instead I rudely disturbed. You enjoying your weekend alone? A person like me is just too wicked. I'm sorry, Uncle, it's all my fault." Seeing the glistening tears in the corner of Fang Ping's eyes, the man became even more panicked. He was indeed a second-rank martial artist whose hands had been stained with blood, but he had no experience dealing with children. While putting on an Oscar-worthy performance, Fang Ping also noticed the other person's awkward expression, so he took this opportunity to try and stick around. He even wanted to help the other person clean the house, to show his sincerity. But just as he opened the curtains wide, the man rushed over like the wind, grabbed the 2 layers of curtains with both hands and pulled them shut. After doing this, he felt that his previous action was too unnatural. It was because he was used to living in the dark, so he couldn't help but draw the curtains. So the man made up a reason, that he was allergic to ultraviolet rays. Fang Ping said, "Oh," pretending that he hadn't noticed anything unusual. He then wanted to help the other person clean the bedroom. The murderer quickly stood in front of the bedroom door like the wind. "Thanks, young man, but I can clean my own bedroom." Fang Ping let out a sigh, with an expression of someone who has seen through the world. "We're both men, I get it. Don't be shy, Uncle." At this point, the murderer had already started cursing silently in his heart. He then used the excuse that it was almost noon to send Fang Ping home for lunch. Fang Ping looked at the clock and saw that it was indeed past 12 o'clock. He then said goodbye to the murderer and left. The man hadn't even had a chance to breathe a sigh of relief when Fang Ping deliberately and accidentally bumped into the cardboard box on the floor and fell face first onto the ground. At that moment, he almost held his breath. Because he had rushed to open the door just now, he hadn't put away that box. Now that Fang Ping had bumped into it, the contents inside had all spilled out, including the blood-stained clothes and the murder weapon. "Uncle, what's in here? Why are your things so messy?" Fang Ping had already guessed what was inside, but still pretended to ask. Unexpectedly, his action extinguished the last spark of reason in the other person. Before he could even turn his head, the murderer had already rushed towards him and launched a kick. A horizontal kick, with the same power as Messi's goal just now. Fang Ping's whole body took the full force of the kick smashing into the door, then slowly slid down. Before he could even react, the other person had already grabbed the knife that had fallen on the floor, removed all the tape wrapped around the blade, and held it to Fang Ping's neck. At that moment, he could clearly feel his strong killing intent. This murderer was going to kill him to silence him. "Uncle, please calm down. I won't tell anyone about this." Fang Ping put on a terrified expression, but only received a cold snort from the other person in return. "You think I'll let you live to see that day?" With that, he swung the knife. At this moment, Fang Ping really started to panic. Could it be that he had miscalculated and was about to die? Here, fortunately, when the blade came down, the drug took effect just in time. The murderer's action suddenly stopped. He also felt that he had no strength left. At that moment, he vaguely guessed that he had been drugged. Perhaps Fang Ping had planned it, from the moment he walked into the house with those 2 cups of soy milk. Seeing the other person's action pause, Fang Ping took this opportunity to knock the knife out of his hand, then fumbled behind him and grabbed a broom handle, hitting him with it. The murderer had been drugged, and had also taken a direct blow to the back of the neck. He couldn't take it anymore and collapsed. Only then could Fang Ping breathe a sigh of relief. He had been trying to stall for so long without any effect, and had also taken a direct blow to the back of the neck. He couldn't take it anymore and collapsed. Only then could Fang Ping breathe a sigh of relief. He had been trying to stall for so long without any effect. It was so effective I almost thought that shop was selling fake medicine. Good thing the medicine kicked in just in time. Plus the timing was perfect. The stars aligned and I had this broom handle. But he couldn't even relax for 3 seconds. Panic once again washed over Fang Ping, because he saw the other man staggering to his feet. Are you kidding me? Didn't he take the drug? That was the only question in Fang Ping's mind, before his opponent punched him square in the gut. The impact was so strong that Fang Ping coughed up a mouthful of blood, but he refused to give up. It wasn't easy getting reborn. He absolutely wouldn't